Hello, and welcome back to the Business of Football podcast, episode number 10, and today we're going to be talking about how globalization has impacted football. Hello everybody, and I hope you're all well. I just want to start off once again by saying a massive thank you. You absolutely killed it with the support on the previous episode, and given the fact that it's the first interview as well, there are many more to come, I can promise you of that. Globalization is, pivotal everywhere. But particularly now in football, football I think is like its own mini society in itself. It's not mini, it's like $400 billion industry, so that's not mini if you ask me. But what that does mean is that there's such a scope and variety of opportunities and places that you can go and maximize, little avenues that you might not think are possible, but you just have to kind of open your eyes and look into it and see that, wow, people are now trading with businesses across the world purely in sport, and it's opened up massively. A lot of that is, I think, because the product on the pitch has become so commercialized through broadcasting, television, through social media now. It's just becoming this situation where you can be so connected to a brand or an organization that's across the world, similar as you could do obviously in any sport, but there's just more football fans across the world, so naturally it's bigger. And you see it in this, there's so many different elements that it works. I think the number one is probably fan engagement now. We're seeing a different type of engagement and way that people access with football. It's fascinating. I think the ECA did actually a document where they looked at the different types of fans that you can see coming to games of football. And it's actually incredible. I've got it written up right here. I'm just going to rattle them off. You've got football fanatics, which are the guys that are, dying for football. They love football, just straight into it. That guy that probably goes, kicks the ball at the courts and absolutely just football mad. And obviously some people like that, probably absolutely sweats out. Football Manager is sick, unbelievable. Probably a bit younger, under the age of 35 is about 37% it says here. So that's quite a younger demographic, but they're probably the ones that enjoy football the most, might go out with your mates to the pub and watch the game or whatever. You've got the club loyalists at 14%. And these guys go to every game. The guys that go home and away. I wish I could go to away days, man. I remember when we were at Swindon Town, some of the away days we used to have, unbelievable. I reckon it's so good to go to an away day, This is not even business. This is just me, because I haven't been in years since I was younger. But it just looks so fun. And these guys, season ticket holders probably, and we'll come to these guys in a minute, but they're there. You've got this is the most interesting category, the icon imitators. So these are the guys that probably support a player over your club. And this links in a bit with tourism, because a lot of people now have come over, especially when they come to the UK to watch Premier League game, and that's all I can go off because I obviously am here in the UK. They follow that player over the football club, and in turn that might make them a fan of that player. So my two favourite examples, Heung-min Son, obviously from South Korea. Look at how many South Koreans probably go to Tottenham games whenever they can just to see Heung-min Son, and that's because he's been such a revelation. I think he's a bit different though, because he's quite an outlier from his country, not as in like he's the only good player that's come from South Korea, no, but in terms of he's gone to the commercialization of the Premier League now, and the timing that he's doing it means that people can actually see him more on what he does as well, and they want to get a part of that as well. Erling Haaland, I feel like I talk about Haaland a lot, but he's just a robot. And I remember when he signed at City, 2022 I think it was, and he must have scored about 4 hat-tricks or something in his first 10 home games at least, I can't imagine. He just scored so many goals. And it got to the point where we started to see so many Norwegian flags. I'd see kids come in and they'd have blonde hair, they'd have a full Haaland kit, and they were just here to see Haaland, and he would never let them down because he'd always go and score a goal anyways. But that iconography of him specifically, and you get people like that across the world. Look at Twitter, for example. People just follow the players. Paul Pogba was another one on social media, particularly, where as a Manchester United fan, seeing how many people were following and defending this guy, and when he left United, a lot of them left as well. Ronaldo, think how many Ronaldo fans just support Ronaldo. So when he was at Madrid, obviously they followed him at Madrid, then he leaves, comes to United, and a lot of Real Madrid fans suddenly became United fans. I had one friend who bought a Ronaldo top for United, does not care about United in the slightest. He was just there for Ronaldo, and you know what, fair enough. These are at 14%, and usually the youngest demographic of fans between the age of 13 and 34. So as you can imagine, that's probably quite a large demographic, but I think that will go up as it continues. We've got the FOMO followers. These guys don't want to miss out. So again, quite young, under 35 really, and they don't really follow football as much, but when it comes to like the big events, so a cup final or the Euros or something, then these guys are full blown in the zone, like that's right, let's go support the team. And I think it has its peaks because, to be fair, they don't have to get so emotionally invested that if their team loses they really care that much, but it's just a little bit of fun. And then we have the main eventers at 19%, who are a little bit older, again quite moderate fans, but they're not really deep into it, if you know what I mean. So they're just quite casual, 19%. And sorry, we have one more category. It's actually the tag-alongs, who are at 19%, sorry. And these guys aren't really interested in football as much, but if their friends go or they come round and football's on the TV, they'll watch. And so it's not really that big of a deal for them. But as you can see, that is actually a labelling by the European Clubs Association. Obviously, these are the guys who wanted the Super League, so it's quite fascinating that they did this bit of research. I think this report came out prior to the Super League, I'm not too sure. So that was something that is quite interesting really, because it has a lot of layers to it in terms of careers, because now you think there's so many different target segments that you can look at and go, okay, maybe if I target a service towards this, or I target my social media towards this demographic of people, I could reach out to them and I could get their attraction, get their attention. They're football fans or they're football stakeholders because they have an interest to a degree. What can I do that gives them a great experience at a match day? This is what football clubs are now trying to do across the world really, and I say football clubs particularly in the Premier League, the Big Six, where they're really trying to target the highest spenders, particularly on a match day. Unfortunately, the way it works is that the loyalists, those guys who are season ticket holders, will go to every single game, are probably the demographic of fans that football clubs are least interested in, because they know they're going to come every week, pretty much give or take, and they're not going to spend money on buying the shirts or buying the merchandise or going on a stadium tour before the game, because they're already fans. Like they're loyal, they're going to travel everywhere, and the money that they're going to spend to travel is probably going to be outside of the club, like getting to match days, home and away. That's probably where most of their costs are going to go. They've already bought the season ticket. We don't need to reach out to these guys. It's the tourists, it's the guys who are tag-alongs or who come for the main event, or they've come to watch that player. They are going to target the crap out of these guys in terms of marketing, pushing things right in front of their faces. Or you're coming to this game, have this email push notification about Haaland, have this push notification about De Bruyne, about Bruno Fernandes, about Mo Salah, whoever it is. Come to the game and buy that Mo Salah t-shirt, because you're a Mo Salah fan, you're coming to watch him for the first time. This is what it's about. I'm pretty sure, oh my god, I've actually forgotten it now, wasn't it when Inter Miami went to China for a preseason game with Messi, and then he got injured and half the people were demanding a refund, so they just were there to watch Messi. They weren't even there to go and watch the game of football. And it's like, okay, well, fair enough, you've clearly got your priorities in check, but that's the way it is now. People just follow these players pretty much, and it's just going to get, I think it's going to get more and more, because social media, now these guys are not just football players, they're actually people that you think you can connect to, because they let you a little bit more into their daily lives on social media, and they put notifications out so you can hear from them, not just through the club but actually through themselves, through their brands. So their iconography and status is just increasing and increasing and increasing. Now you've got agencies that are working with these guys and partnering with these players because they know that their fan base is going to engage with them. Same with influencers, for example. I always talk about influencers, but it's really fascinating because football is so global now that you can become a content creator on social media. You don't even have to just think about talking about opinions for people in the UK. You can talk about people across the whole world who are going to take interest in the game here because you're in that country, or the football game is massive. So the opportunity in terms of influence is crazy. The opportunity in terms of marketing, now there are loads more marketing agencies coming up because football is so big. Social media is only getting bigger and more easier to access the world. So they've realized that, okay, we need to create more marketing, sometimes centralized and personalized marketing depending on the area. So Brazil, wherever it is, Asia, Africa, all these different countries and continents are now having, depending on where they are, specific type of marketing and merchandising. That's going to create more opportunities in that sector, because you think they're going to need more people to be able to do this now, with AI coming involved as well, and fan engagement strategies like CRM, so capturing data, all these quite technical terms, but in the simplicity is just trying to capture more data and bring more people to England to come watch a game of football and spend money, or to subscribe to all the content, subscribe to all the websites, subscribe to all the TV channels, and just spend money in the brand, in the club, continuously, keeping that fan in the loop. And like I said, these are really the guys that unfortunately aren't the loyal ones, who are still needed because they create that atmosphere, but in terms of monetary value, not really. That's why the Super League, I believe, is going to happen, because it doesn't really matter for Manchester City or Manchester United or Liverpool if they fill up Old Trafford or not, because if they can go and fill up some stadium in America, Man United versus Real Madrid 2014, like 109k people filled up that stadium. Think how much money was spent on shirt sales alone, because people don't get the opportunity to go and see Manchester United every single week in the US. So they're going to invest in the kits, the shirt sales. Yeah, you're going to have to pay a bit of money for the stadium or whatever, but you're going to make so much money from that and so much engagement. Pre-season tours are not really pre-season tours anymore. They're more just like marketing campaigns, really, just disguised as pre-season. Let's go to the States and have a mini Premier League where we have Premier League clubs play against Premier League clubs anyways. Why are we doing that? Because it's an opportunity to market. We market Chelsea versus Wolves, 2 Premier League clubs in America. Let's go and do it. I see, obviously, you've got the Supercopa, for example, in Spain, where I think that final goes in Saudi Arabia, so it's usually Real Madrid and Barcelona anyways. They're playing a match in Saudi Arabia for a cup final. I'm pretty sure that's their equivalent of the Carabao Cup. Mistake me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's their equivalent. So the whole world is opening up, and especially in football now, they're really wanting to get Premier League games abroad. Again, I think unfortunately money talks, and again, another rabbit hole for another day, but I think the Premier League and the governing bodies are going to struggle to be able to keep a lid on that, but we'll save that, we'll park that. They're just becoming big corporations now that are looking to expand. So with this globalization and with this push for such an international market and international engagement, it's just going to create more roles and opportunities, and niches are going to open up. When I think about it personally, it's just so exciting, because there's going to be so much content to create stuff around, and that's from my perspective, in terms of videos or podcasts or talking points or AI, social media marketing, all these different things. If you can engage with the football world right now, especially where football is heading, then you're going to be so set. And I think it's really interesting the way that it's just developing and continuing to grow. That's not really going to slow down. Unfortunately, I think one thing this creates, and it's not a business side of things, it's more the impact of that global versus local fan. One of the most annoying terms I always see on social media is support your local. I get it, because local fans, if you don't know what that is, it's basically like people who are actually from that city or whatever, who actually support that team, are unhappy that other people from other countries or other places support clubs from, let's say, for me, for example, I'm from Swindon, but I support Manchester United. People pretty much will say support your local, which is to support Swindon Town. That's maybe why it annoys me, because that is aimed at me. But that tension is really starting to feel itself, and sometimes you feel it at a match day where local fans and global fans, they don't really get along or see eye to eye, because it's a little bit annoying. And I'm just like, well, everyone's here to enjoy the experience at the end of the day, and you can't really regulate someone's experience at the end of the day, an entertainment product, because that's what football is. It is entertainment. So that is a shame, but you're catering to 2 different sets of supporters, and people pay a lot of money for that. So there's absolutely a million ways to do it in business. I think you just have to really find out and understand your niche, understand your specialty, and it can be anything. If you think about coaching, for example, coaching's online now. That's really the space where it's going to go. Again, global. Think how many people actually play football, not just consume it or watch it, but actually play it. That's a global marketplace. There's probably more people that play football than watch football. in some capacity. I would probably say so, but maybe I'm wrong on that one, I'm not sure, but maybe there is. So think about that market that you can really explore and make the most of, get into, and be like, right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to try and push out my content to the entire world and see what happens. Event speakers, globally now it's becoming a massive thing where countries, football organisations globally are working together. So it's no longer just the Premier League for the Premier League, or actually I was going to say La Liga, but that's a really bad example. If you ask the La Liga president, would he work with the Premier League, he'd probably punch you in the face, I'll be honest with you. But the FA, for example, maybe like FIFA, they're probably working more together. You kind of get what I'm saying. If you don't, that's a big shame. But it's interesting the way it's going to mold itself. Football's just only going to continue to get more global, and I think it's a good thing. Because when I say I think, because obviously there's an aspect of that local side of things that's gone. Football's never going to be the same. Rivalries and passion, and the way that I'm sure back in the mid 2000s or the beginning of the Premier League, where it was very, very tribal, but at the same time it's a fantastic thing because more people can access coming to football matches. It's an experience that is amazing, and if you've never been to a football match, I would really love you to go. It's amazing. It's just one of the best experiences you can genuinely ever have, especially a good Premier League game or a good League 2 game. Actually, I'd say it's probably better. The atmosphere is always really, really good, and that's something that TV cannot replace, unfortunately. But more people are accessing the game. There's more money driving through the economy. There's more money driving through the game and the industry. It means that more jobs and more careers are opening up, more business opportunities are opening up, and that's just in football. I mean, I don't need to say like Formula 1. Formula 1's massive. It's become so global now because it's also gone more global and globalized and created more access to supporters. If you don't know, I also support Formula 1. So I hate Drive to Survive though. That's kind of a bit of a pointer. But it's just massive, and that is the way that sport is going. It's not going to change. It's not going to slow down. So I think, unfortunately, to those that don't like it, you're going to have to just live with it and accept that the game that you probably support is not necessarily there. I mean, the big six clubs, let's say, the Premier League clubs in most cases are gone, but particularly the big six, they're never going to come back in terms of being local and to the point. They'll do initiatives which are great, and all of them do. All of them do really good initiatives in their local community. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, in terms of being for the, you're not going to get tourist supporters coming in, or people coming from across the globe, or people who don't support your team from your country, from your city. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen. So you have to pretty much just get used to it and accept that this is the way that football is now. It's good for the football game and for the industry, and it's going to create more opportunities and career pathways. So don't beat it too much. Just accept, and I've done that, and I may have been one of them as well, where I didn't necessarily understand why it was so global and why is the Super League happening. And when you really deep it, look, there's some experts you can go out and listen to can tell you why the Super League is such a big thing and why they want it so much, why the Champions League is the way it is now because of this case. That's another, like I said, a topic for another day. So there's just so many different aspects of it where that personalized style of it is gone. And one thing that I think has definitely actually lost out is young people going to games of football. That doesn't really get spoken about enough, but ticket prices are so high now and young people are getting priced out. For Manchester United's waiting list is 10 years, at least, to get a season ticket at Man United. I've been on that waiting list for 4 years now, and I'm so impatient to wait another 10 years, so it's just ridiculous. But because there's such a supply for it, a demand for it, and also number two, the costs are so high anyways that probably by the time I get there, it's just going to probably be more expensive to get a season ticket. So it's a challenge, and it's actually also the reason why, this is the final point, why if you're a season ticket holder and you miss a certain amount of games and now they threaten you to say you're not attending matches and they threaten to cancel your ticket, is because they would rather give it to someone who they know is going to go and spend money at the game. So those tickets probably don't go back to another season ticket holder, they just get used for general sale because they know, or they sell it to an agency. Oh my god, those agencies rip you off so much, it's ridiculous. But they know the club knows they're going to get more money out of that than you as a season ticket holder who won't spend as much money. So unfortunately, they're not hesitant to get rid of you at all. Like, if you're there, great. If you're not there, fine, we'll get rid of you. We'll get someone else to sit there who is going to invest on the scarf, on the beer, on the pies, on the football shirt, whatever it is. And that's the game, unfortunately. That's just the way it is. It's changing. It's changing, like all things. It's just going away from what it used to be, and this is this is the current way that football is. Who knows what it's going to be like in 5 to 10 years? We'll find out. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I really enjoyed bringing this one to you, and I hope you stay subscribed, go into like and share, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Football Business Podcast. Take care and peace.